Many things have been said. Many things have been spoken about in the last couple of days. So I'm choosing the last part of this series to address this as much as I possibly can and as cordial as I can and being respectful. Um, Everybody pretty much knows the demons and the struggles that Amy had with addiction. Her story is really no different from a Jimi Hendrix or a Janis Joplin or a Kurt Cobain. I mean, those people died at 27 under the grips of some very serious addictions. And me coming from a family that had a few addicts and still do, to be quite honest with you, I can relate. Some people are strong enough to fight off, some people are strong enough to make it, and some people are just not. That's just the reality of life. I've always felt that you have to want to get clean first. And some people do want to get clean, but that doesn't mean that if they're going back and forth to the same drug, that doesn't mean they don't want to. It's a very powerful addiction, and until you are an addict or you experienced it, who are we to judge and who are we to talk? Everybody didn't get clean in my family, and everybody in the music industry hasn't gotten clean either. There's still people, there's still legends in the game that do these hardcore drugs. I'm not going to say any names, but there's a lot of folks that are still engulfed in the nest. All you can do is just pretty much pray for them and hope that they would get their mental frame to the point to where they just truly want to live again. And that's just really it. But that doesn't mean that if they're still doing the same thing over and over that they don't want to get off. Addiction is really that serious. And anybody that's ever experienced it or has a family member that's been in it, then y'all know what I'm talking about and y'all can relate. And somehow or another, as people were just talking about Amy, like a dog in the press and just focusing so much on her drug addiction, things of that nature, there were even people who were just coming out the woodwork just saying all kind of shit like, oh, Amy's not that talented. I know people who can sing better than her and all this other stuff. No disrespect, but miss me and all the rest of the fans around the world with that bullshit. The bottom line is that Amy was a great artist to me, and obviously judging from her sales and everything else and what people said about her and the 200,000 people who were crying outside of her home and bringing her flowers, that alone shows you the impact of what her music meant. And I don't think either one of those people really cared too much about her personal life, even though they might have felt that I want her to get better. People have told me many times, I pray she gets it together because I love her music so much. And that is what I get in my emails the most. They were rooting for her just like I was rooting for her, just as many other people were rooting for Amy to get better, And the bottom line is just, it just didn't happen, and that's just it. But to make an opinion like that, like I said, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Law does not put a gun to anybody's head and say, hey, you must listen to this, you must respect this. That is your opinion. But how dare you be insensitive during somebody's death to speak on them in such a negative light where you feel like this, that, and the third. I mean, that shows that you're pretty much either selfish or very jealous of that factor, because, I mean, even so many people who I wasn't really a fan of musically, you would never, ever catch me saying anything disrespectful like that. I might say, well, I really wasn't into their music, but I respect what they brought to the game. And if they did, in fact, bring something to the game that has stood the test of time, law is going to always respect it, no matter if I'm a big fan of artists or a little fan of artists, or even if I'm not a fan of artists. And everybody who follows me on Twitter and Facebook already knows this. So I'm just telling all the people out there, just stop with the bullshit. Just stop with the hate and the insensitive comments about Amy. We already know the negative part of it all. So the more y'all keep focusing on that, y'all trying to pretty much destroy the positive part of her legacy, which was her music. So if you're going to spend time running your mouth about her, talk about that. And if you're not a fan of her music or her style, just shut the fuck up. That's just being honest. I'm sorry. Don't say anything. Just don't speak on it. I mean, we're not going to have debates and arguments and different things like that in reference to somebody who meant something. And I said this before, not because I worked with her, because as I explained to you in the very first vlog, I didn't even know who she was until they contacted me for this gig. But once I got into her music, I became a die-hard fan. Plain and simple. So if you can't respect that, your perspective is whack. And that's just that. Love you, Amy. Shout out to everybody who I mentioned before. Zaylon, Hashima, the Dap Kings, Sharon Jones, where Amy got a lot of her style from, to be honest with you as well. All those guys that played a very major role. Mark Ronson, who produced those incredible albums. Salami Remy, you know, incredible, one of my idols on the production tip. Very instrumental in her sound and different things like that. I thank God for all those people that were in her camp, even to the ones who tried to help her get it together, different things like that. I thank all of y'all so much for y'all efforts. You know, even though it didn't end in the best results, but once again, she's with the Angels now, so at least we could say that we have her music to keep on remembering her by. We have her style to keep looking at and have great memories. And even if you want to make jokes about, you know, her performances and the things that she would say and the things that you would hear about, you can say it all in love and be able to move on from there. I'm LAW. Plant 12 is upon y'all. Thank you.